With the warm months now here, we're seeing record-breaking numbers at the border as Democrats in swing states are panicking on the issue of immigration. Buses of illegals have now been dumped in Washington, D.C. as the nation demands answers. Biden seems to have no solution in sight as he and his border czar, Kamala Harris, ignore the problem plaguing cities all over the nation. Joining me now is former INS senior agent Michael Cutler. Thank you for joining Real America's Voice.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
One story I'm seeing right now having to do with immigration that the mainstream media seems to have overlooked is we seem to focus a lot on these low-level smugglers bringing these drugs across our border. What have we found out in this rare move with the former president of Honduras?
Well, it's amazing. NBC News reporting just this morning that the Justice Department has extradited Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, to the United States for allegedly receiving over $1 million in bribes from El-Chapo Guzman, who of course was prosecuted right here in Queens, New York, Brooklyn, New York, the Eastern District of New York, and for moving over 500 tons of cocaine from both Colombia and Venezuela into the United States. And just to read one quick paragraph from it, the rare extradition of former head of state followed Hernandez's arrest in February at his home in Tegucigalpa, less than a month after he stepped down from office. And it went on to say that we allege, meaning this is now the Attorney General saying this, Garland, we allege that Hernandez corrupted legitimate public institutions in his country, including parts of the National Police, military, and National Congress. Now think about that. Corruption rampant through a country because of the drug trade, and we have a wide open border that is little more than a speed bump, not only to aliens and potentially criminals and terrorists, but narcotics, and we're seeing record levels of narcotics flooding America and killing record numbers of people right here in the United States.
What do we know right now about what the Biden administration can do besides Title 42, putting that in place and leaving it there? What can they do to combat the flow of these drugs into our country?
Look, you've got to secure the border. And it's not just the Mexican border. You know, I keep making the point, we're a country of 50 border states. We have a Canadian border, we have 95,000 miles of coastline, we have airports. And they are a sieve. And there's no interior enforcement, and that's been a problem going back for decades, because really the key to the control of the aliens into the country is interior enforcement, believe it or not. Because any alien who really wants to come to America will succeed. It's just about being willing to be arrested numerous times before they manage to do it. The key is what happens when they get here. And you have now Alejandro Mayorkas, the head of Homeland Security, who when he was the head of Citizenship and Immigration Services for Obama, was actually investigated by the Office of Inspector General for approving visas for aliens who may have had links to terrorist groups. And the guy was still confirmed by the Democrat-controlled Congress. The Senate Republicans tried to block his approval, and this guy who told his people, get to yes, approve everything, recently stated that when they find that aliens commit fraud to become U.S. citizens, and by the way, immigration fraud was the #1 method of entry and embedding for the terrorists. You know, I provided testimony to the 9/11 Commission. I've investigated and arrested terrorists. Immigration fraud is a big deal. In fact, when our guys raided the compound, in Pakistan, bin Laden's compound, they found an application for U.S. citizenship. Think about that.
Right. We know about the September 11th hijackers, Mr. Cutler. We know about them. What can the administration do today, now, to stop the flow of these illegals?
Crack down on interior enforcement, continue Title 42, and stop tying the hands of the Border Patrol and work cooperatively with local law enforcement to get rid of the people that are throughout the United States trafficking drugs. You know, I spent half my 30 years with the Drug Task Force. You would be amazed at how many illegal aliens and how many criminal aliens have infiltrated the United States to operate drug operations throughout America. And that's really where the problem is. We've got to shut it down on all levels, and we're doing nothing right now to inhibit what the cartels are doing. They're moving people and narcotics without any impediment by this administration whatsoever.
That's Michael Cutler. He's a retired senior special agent for INS. Thank you for joining Real America's Voice.
My pleasure. Thanks for covering the topic, Chris.
Thank you. And as these drugs continue to flow across our border, we will continue to cover the catastrophe now known as the U.S. southern border. I'm Christopher Carter in Washington, D.C.